Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center in London. Thank you very much, viewers across the continent of Africa. I will be broadcasting live from London all throughout the Christmas season, and I will be here to present the views of Punchline One, the football club. Thank you very much for your patronage. Viewers, as you know, we've changed a lot about our television, and we are not going to be talking much about particular countries, but we shall be talking about our continent, Africa. What does Africa mean to you? What does it do for you? I will be here from time to time over this Christmas season to make sure that I deliver the message, the gospel of a better Africa. What Africa do you want? What do you want from Africa? What can Africa do for you? I believe there's quite a lot that Africa can do for us, and I believe there is quite a lot that we can also do for Africa in order to change the direction of our country. And our country is our continent, and the viewers, that's exactly that I will be doing live from London all the time until the Christmas season is over. After the Christmas season, I will again continue to do so and to thank all the people who have been with us, those who have actually supported us on this powerful journey for the last 7 years. I thank you all, and I believe time will tell that at one time we put up a struggle that emancipated Africa. Africa, as you know, is a continent of the very many, but a continent with quite a lot of contradictions. There is a continent where there is food, and there's a continent where there's sunshine, and there's a continent again where people are dying of hunger. And these are some of the things that we seek to talk about when talking about Africa. What can we do for our continent, Africa, for it to rise and shine again? Ladies and gentlemen, that is what I want to do this morning. Our viewers, as you very well know, the continent of Africa is prone to conflicts. But most of these conflicts come as a result of ourselves, as a result of negligence from the leaders on the continent. They also come as a result of the much external forces, the external forces that hover over this continent of Africa. From London, the point of view I see live, I see an Africa that will be littered with several conflicts that most countries, when we move from one country to the other, we create a volcano of more difficulties. Today I was looking at the way the situation in Democratic Republic of Congo, the way it is going, the way things are shaping up in the Congo, what is happening in DRC Congo is very pathetic. The United Nations Security Council decides to lift arms embargo on Democratic Republic of Congo. Surely, any observer who knows what conflicts are in Africa, is it the right time, surely, to remove sanctions or arms embargo on Democratic Republic of Congo? Are these arms not going to end up being sold in the black market and being given to the people?
Can you tell us better understand?
I believe that Africa is best at the best position for it to be the only continent that can stand firm and say enough is enough. If you tell me today that you have allowed President Uhuru Kenyatta to be doing the peace process in Congo, he's bringing people, taking his time out of his retirement, and then you are opening up a Pandora box, a big door, where you allow Congo to have arms, to import in huge arms. Yet the few arms that the Congolese have, the arms that they have bought, they are not able to utilize them. What is the meaning of this? Are we setting up His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the former president of Republic of Kenya? Isn't it time for us to review some of these actions that are taken? We took a resolution on Libya, Resolution 1970 of the United Nations Security Council. That resolution brought chaos in Libya. Libya is no more. Are we making the same mistakes that you open up an arms cell, you sell arms to Congo, everybody will fly in to sell any number of missiles, arms, anything that you want? I thought we could have gone a one single lane first and tried to find out what are the root causes of the war in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then we could come back and say, what can we do for Congo? But we have now moved very fast, voted to sell arms to the government, beleaguered government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Is there governance in that state? That is a bold step I've taken to criticize. This show is the bold step. What bold step have you ever taken as an individual before you criticize anybody who has taken a bold step like me? My show is going to delve into the difficulties of a country called Mozambique. What really happened in Mozambique is a story. And please, if you want to join this show, the numbers on our flyer are very clear. The blue numbers on our flyer are clear. They are 399 535 8320. That is on Zoom. Then the postcode, how to enter the code, is 503 670. 503 670. The entry Zoom number is 399 535 8320. And the code is 503 670. You can come on platform, share your views. Don't criticize from behind. If you have your views, nobody will stop them, as long as there is no vulgar language, insults, condemnation, allegations, and other things that are not put before the test of the law. We don't want any misuse of these platforms. Renamo. You remember the leaders of Frelimo and the Renamo in 1998? And between 1998 and 2000 decided to sign an agreement that stopped the war between the Renamo-backed Portuguese and the Western-backed Renamo with Frelimo, which was backed by China and Russia. That agreement went through. The peace returned in the entire Mozambique. The northern part of the Beira Triangle was for once peaceful. But Mozambique, as you know, is a huge country whose capital is Maputo, and another commercial capital port Beira. The Portuguese developed Beira because that is where River Zambezi pours its water from Atlantic Ocean into Indian Ocean. It is the only river in Africa that carries water from one place, one ocean, and mixes in the other ocean, crossing through over 6 countries, all the way from the western part of Africa, all the way through Namibia, through Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, and it enters the Indian Ocean. Viewers, those who are watching us and those who will pick up this clip, it is important to know that Mozambique had a very early stage of conflict. What happened to Machel was plain. Samora Machel needed an investigation. It was needed for Samora Machel, for people to find out. A bold step must be taken for answers to be given. We don't want to wait in Africa like we have waited most of the time. We waited for 62 years for the bones of Patrice Lumumba. Yet the people who killed Patrice Lumumba were the same ones who kept the bones in the fridges of Brussels. How did Samora Machel die? These questions are for the next topic. But for now, let's look at the background of Cape Delgado. Sometime in 2022, after 2.5 years, up to May 2020, there has been progress against the insurgents who had actually picked up arms, supported by some foreign powers, as a result of the oil fields, the gas, the hot springs that are in that area of Cape Delgado. In March 2020, in Kwesanga and Mokiboa Damparia districts, headquarters in Mozambique, being taken by the rebels. This ability would reach its peak in 2020 when the rebels, the insurgents, after months of activity, asserted control over the entire Masimboa da Bahia town, expelling all government officers, soldiers, police, the army, and the judiciary. They took control of the entire province, which later on became very toxic. A similar attack on Palmer Town in March 2021 would finally bring the war to significant international approach. One of the things that I found out in my study and research on African politics and African history is that until the rebels touched a main town, interests of the Western powers, nobody would like to give them any prominence, not even in newspapers, not even in radio stations. Ladies and gentlemen, those watching me and those who will pick this clip, if you look at the rebel insurgents in the area of Cape Delgado, what was the area? In 1994, I want us to trace the history. There was genocide in Rwanda. Rwanda origin settled in these areas of Cape Delgado. What happened to them? How many are there today? President Chisano was a president. He's my friend. He has been my friend. We talked about several of these things, of what he used to be, what he used to do while he was in government. But in 1994, Rwanda genocide left several of the other Rwandese, the Hutu origin and others who left Rwanda, came to Tanzania, some settled in Tanzania. Those who had not committed any crimes or who had not, given any instructions to kill others, who were merely refugees, were settled in most parts of Africa. It is believed that some of these refugees also settled in Cape Delgado. So the similar attack on Palma, because if you go to Palma, I've been there before, it's a very good place where you can go for your holiday. By the way, Mozambique is one of the few countries, if you want a good holiday on an island on your own, you can go and be in Mozambique and have your life with your wife, with your children, with your family, with your loved one, with your whoever you want to take there, you'll enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, the questions that lie in Cape Delgado is, where did these refugees go? Are they still there? Where are they? Who are they? Are they the ones who turned into insurgents? Did the insurgents come from somewhere else? Are they the same ones? So a similar attack, that attack on Palma town, where Total Oil and American oil companies had actually come to ask President Nyusi. And I want to be very categorical here, because I talk about Africa and I teach people about Africa. Those who will pick my clip, and I want these clips of Christmas to be actually taken, all of them, for people to listen to my lecture. Because that's the way I'm going to lecture. A bold step to tell the truth. A bold step forward to say the truth and nothing but the truth. Because what kills people in Africa is not saying the truth. Who killed? Where did these refugees go? Are they still there? Why Cape Delgado? Mr. Chisano, my great friend, President Chisano, former president of Mozambique, told me he settled over 200,000 refugees of Rwandese extraction. What happened to them? These are questions that the world should ask. Because if we don't ask these questions, we shall continue to have wars and the wars and the wars and the wars and the wars on this continent. Why is it that Total Oil in Africa is at the center of everything that happens to us? In Nigeria, 1967, they created a war between Biafra and the main government of General Yakubu Gowon. Between General Ojukwu, the leader of the Biafran army, over 2 million people were killed. And 4 million were starved to death by the Buharis, Obasanjos, and the Yakubu Gowon and the rest, who walk around here masquerading as human rights activists or pretenders or leaders who want to negotiate peace. It is therefore that background that Cape Delgado was denied. Why did the Mozambique government refuse to improve the lives of one of the provinces? Because it was occupied by foreigners. That is the reason. And anybody listening to me, look at that reason. It was occupied by people that they said, like, if you are in Kakuma, if you are in another, there's another refugee camp called, in Kenya, there are 2 refugee camps, Kakuma and the one near Garissa, in Garissa, Dadaab. If you are in Kakuma or Dadaab, you can see the type of infrastructure. That is the type of infrastructure that was in Cape Delgado. No roads, no hospitals, no schools, not very many. So extremists or ISIS, a branch of ISIS, planted itself in Cape Delgado, supported of course by Qatar. Qatar is mentioned in this conflict because Qatar, whenever, I want to tell the world, whenever you see Total Oil, there is Qatar. Qatar gives the money, Total Oil keeps the equipment that drills the oil. You cannot do a deal of oil from the French type of Total Oil without Qatar. Qatar will always be there. That's why everybody, when football was being awarded to Qatar, nobody talked about human rights. But today we have human rights government of Qatar admitting that over 500 people died building those stadiums at a speed unsupervised, and some were buried even under the same stadiums. Nobody has put a commission of inquiry on it. But France would run to Kenya, a country in Kenya like Kenya in Africa or Uganda in Africa, to put some people on trial for crimes committed against humanity. But they will not put people on trial from Qatar. The emergence of such double standards of international politics, constant economic interests, brought about the troubles that we see, coupled with the lack of infrastructure, development-oriented programs for the people of Cape Delgado, negligence from the government in Maputo, where the people became poorer. The natives watched as Total Oil was drilling and finding more oil fields, oil wells. Their industry was being occupied, the hot gas. Foreigners were coming in to do the jobs, and the people in Cape Delgado revolted. A rebellion arose. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mozambique state in 2019 contracted from a Wana group and then Dyke Adversary Group in 2020. You see these groups that we contract to do our survey, security, and so on and so forth, in finding out about the possibility of insecurity in the region, brought a report that today is still on record. This came from many quarters, including South Africa. So many people cried about the insurgency that has now shown, it had shown its mouth and ugly face to the rest of international community. Total Oil withdrew from Palma town, asking for people to help them to protect their interests. Whose interests? Whose oil is it? Was it the oil for Total Oil? Who sold Total Oil to, who sold the oil and hot gas to the Total Oil? The government of Mozambique, of Mr. Nyusi. Mr. Nyusi himself is the main cause of this conflict. He sold the French contracts to drill the oil, and then sold the Americans and other groups to drill the oil. 2 agreements at a go. The same thing we are doing again today in Congo. The French tell us they condemn Rwanda for arming M23. But the same French are supporting Rwanda through EU for the good job done in Mozambique. Double standards. The United States of America is opening embassy, is opening a channel to take over chain supply of cobalt, copper, and diamond and other minerals through Lubumbashi in southern part of DRC Congo. We have a theater of operation in Kisangani, in North Kivu. We have M23 in Bunagana and Toroko and all these areas of that border, Congo, and with Uganda and Rwanda, the M23 are very active. But now we have opened another axis, the Zambian Lubumbashi inside the Congo axis. Are we not setting up the mediators to fall into a trap? This is the double standards that I wanted the people of Africa to know. The rest is serious data, and the rest is history. But one key thing that I want to get from this discussion: who were the inhabitants? Why is it only Rwanda was chosen to go to Calbo Delgado? The bold step always says it as it is. You can intimidate us, but we shall say it, and leave for the world to judge us whether we were wrong. Rwanda went in with 2,000 troops, eliminated everybody, crushed earth to policy, scorched earth policy. The insurgents has died. The insurgents is no more. The insurgents accountability, where is it? I've not heard any human rights group talk about it. What happened? The question goes back to a very simple analysis. Where did these 200,000 refugees of the Rwanda origin go? Put 1 + 1 together, you can give me the answers. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. This is Matanga's. This is Punchline Africa Television. The show is The Bold Step. You walk forward. What have you done for yourself? Let me cross over to I can see several other people who have come in to listen. Let's exchange views. The background, the war as we speak right now, the insurgents have remained in smaller pockets. We thank the Rwandese army for having gone into Calbo Delgado. But we also have to scrutinize the human rights records that this invasion or intervention has left on the people of that region. People have to be accountable. Accountability must be for all of us. We cannot have double accountability for some citizens in the world not to be accountable and for some to be accountable. Yes. Yes. The United States of America was telling people to take people to international criminal court, sentence them, charge them, but the United States of America never allowed any of the citizens to be charged in the same court. My step forward, bold step forward. I've said it today. Are we less human? That's why I opposed International Criminal Court. In my book that is coming over these holidays, by January it will be full-fledged. You prepare for the best to listen to my story. How double standards played about in all ICC cases on the African continent. Who was this person behind the double standards? You want other citizens to go to court, to be charged, to be arrested, to be intercepted, but you don't want your citizens ever to be tried in the same court. Today, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, we are setting ourselves up for a very big failure. The Congo crisis is a very good example of ourselves setting our people, our leaders, to a total failure. We are doing a peace process. At the same time, we are also allowing guns to be sold into the same process. A country that does not know the head and the tail. The only thing you can do about Congo is arrange it. Until Congo is arranged like Yugoslavia. Were you ashamed or amused to hear today that President Biden has given Ukraine $185 million? Million dollars. Actually, it could be $1 billion if my production in Nairobi, can you check and send me the message? It could be about $185 million. I saw something like that in the morning. The United States of America has given $1.85 billion of dollars to Ukraine. If they gave us $1.85 billion in Somalia, Al-Shabaab will be the dead people in Indian Ocean. What have they done? Lip service. And I was joking, and somebody on Twitter has just told me that, are you for real? I said, yes, I am looking for a project that America has infrastructure project. Don't tell me about malaria. Malaria, that infrastructure project that you can walk in Africa and point a finger that was done by America. I want I'm writing to be given my professorship. So one university has asked me to write about. So I'm looking for volunteers to give me more clues of one of those projects that America has done on African continent that you can walk and say, hey, that is America. Apart from building their embassies. Very beautiful embassies. But there is no project. China came, it brought project, infrastructure projects. Yes, tunaambiana ukweli. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show, Tawish Olesisana from Narok. Good morning or good afternoon, I don't know. Yes, good afternoon. It is in your country, good afternoon. Good morning from here. How are you, Tawish?
Good afternoon, Dr. Masanga. Good afternoon, of course, my colleague, panelist. Good afternoon also to our viewers who are watching this program in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world. It is my great pleasure to join you in this program. Good afternoon, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Tawish, and a good afternoon. Another gentleman, I don't know who he is. Can you say good afternoon to us or good morning wherever you are, Lesuku?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Where are you speaking from? Then we can tell the people that the people of that area are listening.
I'm speaking from South Sudan.
South Sudan, Juba. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. How is Dr. Yakamachanda, General Salva Kiir?
They are all fine. They still with their politics. Okay.
They are fine.
And my things which I just want to add to, yes, you have been talking about the conflicts, Congo conflict, and the conflict in Africa, and the sources of the conflict, which is well known.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But if I can ask you,
yes,
you talk of the former president, who was your best friend, former president of Rwanda, and you talked of the former president of Mozambique,
yes,
who was killed, and more about him who killed was not known, and the people have been waiting, and the truth are not out. And the same, let me say, of South Sudan, our former hero, who died in a helicopter crash. Until now, nothing is also brought out. What did you say about it?
Thank you very much, Losuk.
And who are the sources for this one? And why did he die? It was because of the fire.
No.
What is it?
Oh, my friend Losuk, you have taken me to the very terrible, tricky waters.
No, please. Okay, thank you very much. This is my question.
But don't worry, I am a very good guy at answering such questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I am a great friend of the former president,
Dr. John Garang.
Chisano. A great friend of Chisano. You know very
Oh,
well.
yeah.
You saw me in Juba with Chisano when we are doing the peace process. You saw me flying to Rikwamba and Garamba Park. I believe you used to see me when Dr. Riek Machar was telling us just jump on the plane and you go. Even if forced us from one meeting to go to the plane, the choppers, without eating. We shall eat ahead there. You saw me struggling, and I want to tell you, the people of South Sudan, you helped us to bring peace in northern Uganda. I want to thank you very much, and I thank the President Salva Kiir, and I thank President Deputy Vice President Riek Machar, and the African Union, the EU, and UN for having facilitated our peace talks, which ended in signing of 5 agenda, which you know very well. I was the leader of the delegation negotiating, going between the rebels and the negotiating team until we signed those agreements. Today, northern Uganda is as peaceful as you can hear. The only thing that kills them is hunger and poverty, which is not my duty. I was not born as Jesus Christ to give any food to anybody for free, because I don't have it. But it is the duty of the government of Uganda to look after their people. You have brought in the question of General Garang, my great friend. And you know very well, I know him from Orange Kibul. I know him, we were the first people who gave him, during Dr. Militon Obote's reign, he used to come to Kampala and I used to meet him. I personally know him. I personally sat down with him. I was impressed in 1985 when we had just been overthrown. We used to meet him in Nairobi, 1985, in the house of Dr. Peter Otai, who was our main person of the leader of our fighting groups that were by then trying to bring party politics back into Uganda. So we used to meet General Garang. John was a very good leader and a very good father. I remember one token which he gave me of $1,300 to go and pay school fees for the children. When I told him I'm nowadays in London, I was on my way to Zimbabwe. We bumped into each other, and he gave me that money. He pulled it out from his bag and said, go and pay school fees only. Don't drink. Because at that time, I used to drink alcohol, but I don't drink alcohol anymore. So if you look at that peace process, you can see for yourself, myself and Ruakana Rugunda signing this document. Look at the way we are seated here. Myself and Ruakana Rugunda and Dr. These are generals. This is inside the bush. In the bush. These are pictures that are live. You know, some people don't know. Some of us suffered to get it where we are. Look at those pictures. I thank you, the people of Nairobi. Where have you got these pictures? I want you to put them on one clip for the world to know. Some of these people hate me when I actually went to suffer to get the peace. Look, we are here in the bush. Somewhere there, in Garamba Park, Rukwamba, I was looking for peace for my people, my country, Uganda. Until we got it, South Sudan got independence. After removing the LRA from Eastern Equatorial to Western Equatorial, the ceasefire was got by the man speaking. This one here, I got the ceasefire to remove over 60,000 people from one area to the other. That is an achievement that very few people in the world can claim to have done. Coming to the question of the death of General Garang, Africa as an African, may his soul rest in peace. First, I was not in Uganda. Second, I was not in contact. When they got independence, we had left. Actually, when the negotiations were taking place, we had left. I was not in Uganda. I was in London. I heard about the death of His Excellency General Garang from a hotel in a conference at night when we were with Shaka Sali. The talk, Straight Talk Africa, we had a conference on Ugandans who from Kabale who had come to London, and I had hosted Shaka Sali in my house, and we went to the hotel, Croydon Park Hotel, where my offices are. We were there having a drink at night, and then breaking news on CNN that General Garang had died. An inquest was put in place, and up to now, I have not particularly read the inquest in details. But as you said, information is very scanty, and some of you in South Sudan, the instability that is being called there is maybe it comes from unanswered questions. What happened? What happened? I'm also left in that losuk in the question, what happened? What happened? I also seek answers. I don't know whether I've been very nice in answering that way diplomatically. Losuk. Mr. Losuk.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm following you, sir.
Yes, I have answered diplomatically. If there are any...
You have answered diplomatically, but it is not to the satisfaction because it's still...
I'm sure you want me to name what I don't know. But I'm not going to be dragged into that. I would prefer, my personal number, and you know me very well. You have hidden yourself there, but if you opened your box, I would also know you, because from the talk you are talking, I know you. So let's find each other one to one, and then talk. Is that okay?
It's okay.
Yes. Some of these things, you don't go into waters that you know are deep and you can't swim. Chinawa Achebo told you. You remember what he said, that perhaps you have been away for too long. The Umofia clan has changed. The white man has put a knife on the things that held us together. The Umofia clan has fallen apart. Does that ring a bell to you? Obierika.
Right.
Obierika was telling his friend Okonko that don't go that step because you might commit suicide. So don't you as a friend of Dr. Matsanga, why don't you tell me perhaps you have been away for too long? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
But continue listening, and all the time greet my bosses there, General Salva Kiir. I love him so much. Happy Christmas. General Riak Machar, my good friend, my chief mediator, and I remind him I have not yet got my allowances up to today because I needed to talk about it. That Your Excellency, Dr. Matsanga never got the allowances. That they
will get it.
Yes. I will get it when?
You will get it soon.
Sometime when he has time, he can remind the person that we met on 8th of December 2008 that Dr. Matsanga never received his allowances. Over $332,000 in allowances. I did the job for nothing. And by the way, humanity is like that. Don't always go in to get a reward. You younger people, Tawish and the rest, I always tell you, don't work for rewards. Don't go. I went into ICC and Fort Ocampo. I did not expect, and I don't expect rewards. Anybody who wants to come and say, thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga, here is tea, go and drink, I'll drink. Africa, there are no rewards. Isn't it, Lasuk? There are no rewards. If you are waiting for a medal, you might never get it. I've never even got a medal from Kenya for having tackled ICC cases. They give medals to people, but they have never given me one. And that's, time has come.
Humanity will reward you.
Yeah, I need it. If you wear a medal and you die in that coffin and they put that medal on top of your coffin, isn't it good enough? Tawish, surely, with all this work I did, the bold step forward. Cape Delgado. What happened to the refugees who settled in Cape Delgado? Tawish. Tawish. Mr. Tawish, are you there or you are gone?
I'm there, Dr. Matsanga.
Okay, go ahead. Lesuk had taken me to the Sudani issue, South Sudani issue. Yeah. And by the way, before Tawish, don't go away now. Hold on the fire there. Lesuk, I had forgotten another thing of South Sudan. For us to get peace in northern Uganda, we went and met General Bashir and asked General Bashir in the daytime Savannah in his palace that please stop arming LRA from today. And then we flew into Uganda. For the first time, I'd never gone to Uganda. From 1985 up to 2008. You count how many years those are. I'd never stepped in Uganda. For the first time in 2008, we flew into Uganda to meet President Museveni and asked President Museveni to stop funding SPLA and arming SPLA. And he agreed in presence of leaders, presidents who were there on the table, including myself as the leader of the delegation negotiating the peace. And we got the peace. You see, we got the peace. Konyi might not have been arrested or picked, but we got the peace in Uganda. We returned so many refugees back in Uganda. Resettled them. Some are in the army, some are generals, some are captains, lieutenants, corporal. They have gone to school, they have degrees. When I walk the streets, they say, hey, doctor, you remember me? I was the child soldier whom you brought back. I'm now an attaché in this embassy. I got one of them in the embassy, working. Ugandan embassy. That is how President Museveni has been able to accommodate, to redeem himself and bring in many other rebels like the NRA component. Northern Uganda is peaceful. People are digging, people are doing their businesses. Of course, there's poverty. Poverty is everywhere. In London, if you want to go there for now, for your, that people like going to London for Christmas, it is not there. The nurses are on strike. The train is on strike. The doctors on strike. Fire brigade on strike. Police only working. And they are telling you, don't go out if it's not necessary. So, what is the difference between Africa now and that place? We have a problem here. You can't drive your car out of the snow. Here, where we are right now. Ladies and gentlemen, those watching us, some of these things are painful. But the question, like the one Lesuk has asked, is a very painful question. Unfortunately, I cannot satisfactorily answer it here. I give it another day when we meet and talk. Tawish. Mr. Tawish, bring us to date. Samuel Tawish.
Yes, Dr. Ari.
Bring us to speed the situation in Mozambique. You now have the background. The insurgents has been wiped out. But did we follow the international norms of human rights? Did you observe the human rights? What is happening? Compare that to the Congo crisis, to Sudan crisis, South Sudan crisis, Somalia, Libya, DRC Congo now. Compare and see. Are we making the same mistakes and doing the same things like as we have done before? Tawish.
Very well, thank you so much, Dr. Ari. And I think you've laid bare the background as well as the situation in Mozambique, particularly and Dr. Masanga, I think just like you highlighted, the issue of the human rights and the approach we have engaged in terms of restoring calmness and tranquility in Mozambique's situation may not have been very good approaches, but we're very glad and happy that we are achieving that ultimate objective of peace at long last. And I think even if we are to face such kind of tribulations in future, the approach must be one which observes the human rights, aspects to do with human rights, so that we do not repeat the same mistakes, do the same things all over again, and repeat the same mistakes of Kasanga. I think when you look around, especially in the African continent, and particularly in the countries you've mentioned, South Sudan, DR Congo, the situation today in DR Congo, also, of course, in Mozambique, South Sudan, and so many of these nations which have been in turmoil in one way or another. There have been occasions, sometimes by political apprehension, sometimes because of just grievances being raised by civilians, change of, governments, regimes, that is, removal of regimes from office. But Masanga, these situations and the conflicts in all these countries appear to be almost the same. They wear the same blanket for Masanga. But I'm very, very happy, Dr. Masanga, that we've been able to make those strides in Mozambique today. We have some semblance of peace. And moving forward, Dr. Masanga, I think we cannot be a continent that can only be talked of in terms of negativity, in terms of the conflict, in terms of abuse of human rights. We want to see a continent that prospers, a continent that respects human rights, a continent that makes sure that our people do not run away, say, to the European nations, simply because of the poverty and diseases in the country. The African leaders can do as much to ensure that we use the resources at our disposal, Dr. Masanga, to uplift the livelihood of our people, so that moving forward, we cannot concentrate all our energies, all our time really thinking and talking about these conflicts in all these African countries. So I think we want to make steps moving forward. Today is Mozambique settling down. We will want to see the same here Congo. We will want to see the same in South Sudan and most of these other nations, including Central Africa, so that by the end of the day, the African people can unite together and concentrate in building their continent. I think that is the desire that we all have. And for us to achieve this, we must put all our efforts together, must put our energies together, and we must also remain really sincere in our approach in terms of resolving these conflicts. Because you can see the situation in DR Congo today, where DR Congo itself does not has a very big reservation on the participation and involvement of Rwanda, allegedly in funding or aiding the M23 rebels. We want to see the leadership and the people of Africa approach these issues with a lot of sincerity, Dr. Sanga. Because again, the kind of reservations and misgivings that some leaders and some nations have against neighboring countries does not augur well for the entire continent of Africa. So this goes directly to the leadership of our nations, our presidents, our prime ministers, and all those who are in the leadership position to see in it that in as much as we engage in the negotiations to resolve conflicts in the continent of Africa, in conflict zones in the continent of Africa, that we do it with utmost honesty and sincerity. And that is the only ingredient that we'll really need for us to have a sustainable peace. Because by the end of the day, we don't want just to end the conflict to be ended, then people get back into these wars and conflicts again. We want to see sustainable peace. I think that is our desire, all of us. And now that Mozambique has made that bold move and bold step, let them sustain it, Sanga, because it is for the benefit of Mozambicans and for the benefit of the great people of Africa. For now, Dr. Masanga, allow me to yield.
In your opinion, Tawish, do you think His Excellency President Kagame was the right person chosen? Why have we had conflicts near his border not resolved? And this conflict was resolved immediately. In 2 months, it was wiped out, finished. Everything has come back to normal. And they are doing mop-up exercise only. What do you think?
Dr. Masanga, that in itself really is a manifestation that President Paul Kagame was the right person for this, because we've been trying to pacify this region. We've been trying to find ways of finding a solution to this conflict, but it has taken, so many years. But again, with President Paul Kagame coming in and taking that mantle and doing what he has done, at least we can see that there's that tranquility and calmness and peace really returning to that region. So it does speak that it was appropriately nominated really to oversee the peace process in that region because of one, the experience in leadership, the experience about the Rwanda itself and where it came from. We all remember about the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, and he really knows the price of the price of war, the price of lack of peace, the price of lack of security, and so for him, he really has a very good experience, and he has had a very sound approach in as far as this conflict is concerned. And so, therefore, Dr. Masanga, in as much as we've had this conflict resolved, we want to see it being sustained. The peace should not be, should last long, Dr. Masanga, so that the people of Mozambique, and especially Calbo Delgado, can get back to work and concentrate in building their nation. So, in my estimation, Dr. Masanga, yes, President Paul Kagame was the right person, because we have seen dividends of his work, the effort he has put to bring about this that we enjoy today in that part of the country.
Thank you very much, Tawish. And ladies and gentlemen, today we take this opportunity to thank you very much that today peace has returned in Mozambique, in Calbo Delgado. But at what cost has the peace returned? Have we forgotten the human rights tracing record? How many people can a war be executed without stepping on human rights? Those are the questions the bold step would like to answer. Are there people who have died, whose misery, whose families continue to ask questions? What happened to President Nyusi? Why did he sign 2 contracts? Why did he bring in people on to fight on his own soil? Why is it that northern part of of Mozambique and the southern part of northern part of Mozambique, which borders the great East African community nation of Tanzania, is not developed. Why? These are the answers. We saw the body, the bones of Patrice Lumumba brought back after 62 years. Surely, 62 years, and Tshisekedi just welcomed the bones and gave the queen, the king of Belgium even more food to eat without asking any compensation. What do we to the families that lose their beloved ones? These are the questions that we continue asking in Africa. And we shall continue asking in Africa these questions. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow will be our last show. And that show is called, will be one of our last shows before we go to Christmas, because on Sunday we shall not have any show. And I want to thank the team in Nairobi for all what they have done. The last show is the tough questions. This last show, the tough questions will be our last show tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with important information that we shall be bringing that show, the tough questions. And Mr. Lusak can now come in to ask the tough questions, like who killed Garang? How did Garang, General Garang, die the late? May his soul rest in peace. And that is what the world is. And I want to thank you very much. We need to talk about this. We need to continue to do that. And we shall be doing that until God calls us away from this planet. But we must ask questions. Our show tomorrow are the tough questions. Who has the answers for these tough questions? Is it myself? Is it the show tomorrow will be tough questions? Otherwise, all of you, if I don't see you, I wish you a happy Christmas and a happy New Year, especially the Christmas. I am looking for this thing called the tough questions. Where are they? Yeah. Friday, every Friday are the tough questions. The tough questions. Do you have any tough questions out there to ask me? Mr. Lesuk, today you have taken me to sweating ground. And I want you to return tomorrow on the same time, 11 o'clock, with other questions sharpened towards. You might get an answer tomorrow. I'm going to do my research. Other than that, I want to wish you well. I tell you, every 11 o'clock, Punchline Africa will be. Actually, if you want to see any of our films, any of our past documentaries and broadcasts, we shall be playing them over Christmas, and you will see. Just log in www.punchlineafricatelevision.com and go on. They will play themselves until you get tired. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless Africa. This station, therefore, is for Africa, by Africa, with Africa. Ciao.